Hi everyone, so welcome to the first session today. We're going to have a short presentation followed by a fireside chat. So I'd like to welcome Dan here from Vodafone UK and Brian Grant, who's from Teradata. So as I said on stage, Vodafone UK, have just completed one of the largest cloud migrations in Europe to date. And they were also the trailblazer for the first of 3 of their local market migrations. So Dan's going to kick off with a small presentation and then we'll move into the fireside chat.
The idea behind this session is that it's an interactive session. So after Daniel has finished his presentation, I'll get the conversation flowing, but we do expect a lot of audience participation. So while he's talking, be thinking of your hardest questions. All right.
That's not what we agreed, right?
It's too late now.
Hi, I'm Dan Azapardi. I'm the head of the data platform engineering team in Vodafone UK. And today I'm going to talk to you about the evolution of Vodafone UK's data warehouse to Teradata Vantage on Google Cloud. If there are any questions which perhaps you don't have time to ask or you think of afterwards, you can contact Vodafone on the email address here at the bottom, which is ukmediarelations@vodafone.com. Okay, just as a... So Vodafone has an esteemed company history. We're responsible for UK's first ever mobile call and the world's first text message. And since then, today we have more than 18 million customers, 660K home broadband users, more than 400 retail stores in the UK, and more than 94 million IoT connections. You probably all know about Vodafone, but I thought I'll just give you a bit of an intro for people who aren't in the mobile industry. So about a year ago, just over a year ago, we decided to migrate to Teradata Vantage on cloud. Previously, our Teradata was hosted on a large number of on-prem servers in a data center in Germany. Both the software and hardware needed an upgrade to handle our workload. We were having to schedule our workloads very carefully. And our business teams and finance teams were asking for improved performance and for their reports to be available a lot earlier in the day or a lot earlier in the month so that they can cope with their workloads. By migrating to Teradata Vantage on cloud, it also means that we reduced our warehousing, power, and hardware depreciation costs. Sometimes people don't think about these things, but it was really important for us. We also removed the need for Vodafone to have to manage our hardware and software upgrades because now Vantage on Google Cloud is a software as a service. And it improved performance of our reporting, plus it gave us the opportunity to expand capacity whenever we need it without having to install physical servers in a data center. So doing a migration from a well-established platform which is on-prem, which is used by many, many different functions in Vodafone, onto a cloud-based platform needed a lot of persuasion or discussions with stakeholders and users. Okay, when many finance teams and sales teams, etc., use a system and you're telling them that you're going to actually totally replace it, you're going to rip it out and put a new one in, there's a lot of nervousness there. So right up front, when we started to design the way we were going to do the migration, we thought, what are our 3 main priorities during the migration? We wanted to minimize the downtime and disruption to users and downstream systems. We wanted to make sure that there was no loss of data or data integrity during this migration. And we also wanted to provide regular tailored communication to users and stakeholders from the beginning of the project throughout all of the stages of the project and after the project as well, so that it's not an IT imposed migration, but actually made all our stakeholders feel part of it. Okay. We faced quite a few challenges. I'm not going to tell you this was the easiest project I've run. We have some of our delivery managers from Teradata here in the room. I'm glad we survived it. Basically, for example, moving all our customer data from an on-prem server or number of servers in a data center we own to a software as a service provided by another company that we don't own, needed a bit of a mind shift, and also needed a lot of new security controls in our IP network. Okay, so that was one of the challenges we faced. And we did overcome it, by the way, and we can talk about that later. We also had some system compatibility issues, especially with some legacy downstream systems. Most organizations have this, right? Where there are systems that aren't invested in enough and they're not always kept up to date. And then when you try to update the source of the data, there are some incompatibility issues there. And also we wanted to assure operational silence and business continuity for more than 800 users who run queries on our Teradata, plus a number of downstream systems that take data from our data warehouse and process it and have users downstream as well. Okay. So how did we execute the migration? And I kind of didn't want to bring sort of very complicated diagrams here, but I'm at the risk of oversimplifying what we did. Okay, so as engineers, you probably all understand that where I have one line, it means a lot more than that. So in our ecosystem, we have a huge number of source systems. The data is extracted, transformed, and loaded by our ETL tool, and we used to load it onto our Teradata on-prem, which is the grayed out area. That then fed downstream systems where, as I explained before, we had compatibility issues initially, more with cloud rather than with Vantage itself. We have lots of end users and sandbox users. So what we did was, I think some of the arrows sadly went from this presentation, but so we had to build a new secure network between Teradata on GCP and our ETL, and between Vantage on GCP and the downstream systems. That involves building a whole new IP network with all of the security infrastructure that our cybersecurity teams wanted us to implement, plus making sure we have the right non-functional KPIs that we can adhere to. And when we did that, we did a few trial migrations. We first migrated our non-production environment, so our development and test environment, to learn from that, because that wouldn't have impacted anybody in the business except our own teams. It went really well. We learned some lessons, and then we did another dress rehearsal where we migrated some of the data across to see how that would perform, and migrated back so that we went down offline for a day on a Saturday, for example. And we learned some more from that, and we could do some fine-tuning on the way we were going to do the data migration. And then we had our sort of big migration over a four-day period, which we had to plan sort of with what I call military sort of type of precision. Okay. The migration went really well. We planned a downtime of 4 days. The steps we made were like pretty obvious to everybody, I think. But we would take a backup from our old system, make sure the backup is okay, then do a one-off secure data transfer of all of the data from Teradata on-prem to Vantage. The performance of that is dependent on the pipe that we built plus Vantage. Everything performed actually a little bit better than we were expecting, and partially it was because of the lessons we learned in the trial migrations where we could make some tuning. We actually ended up migrating the data a bit quicker than we expected. Then we brought the downstream systems back online and made sure that all of the compatibility worked. We had tested it before, but made sure everything was working. And we ended up doing the migration 25% quicker than we planned. So instead of doing it over 4 days, we actually handed it back to our users and downstream systems a day early. We were quite sort of impressed by it anyway. So we're making these decisions. Shall we actually, it's all working. Nothing's actually gone wrong. Shall we, I remember having calls with David sort of quite late at night, saying, shall we just give it back to the users? And we did, and they were absolutely delighted. The reason why I decided to share this with you, I will continue the presentation, as this time last year, at last possible, I was in that phase where I wasn't sure how the hell we were going to migrate from on-prem to Vantage, because it was such a big transformation for us. And I thought I'm here to share with you because it's possible, and I'm not sort of on brand, sorry, but you know, and I can help. You know, maybe if you have any questions, I can help you understand how we overcame it. But we had a huge amount of unsolicited praise and positive feedback from users and stakeholders. It's not usual that IT teams receive emails, you know, out of the blue saying, oh my God, this was an amazing migration. We didn't even realize the system is so much faster. We're getting our reports so much quicker. We've never seen a transformation like this before. Okay, so that was really, really interesting. The users are now really pleased with what they have. Their reports, their queries run much quicker, and the reports that we produce are provided much earlier in the day, much earlier in the week, much earlier in the month. They can actually get on with their work. We also realized that backups run much quicker. The first backup we did during the migration took 45 minutes, where our normal backup time was 4.5 hours. Which meant we now can rethink how we do, you know, what our backup regime is. And we have a lot of new Vantage capabilities that our teams are starting to explore. So in the future, in the immediate future, we're now looking at using a feature called Query Grid, which will help us share the data between Teradata Vantage and some other applications that we run on Google Cloud. Also, our fraud team are experimenting and using ClearScape. I think it was mentioned in one of the previous presentations. This is the Vantage built-in AI capability. They've managed to develop use cases really quickly without incurring any high costs. And what they reported back to me was that they can react very quickly to changes they want to make. And they can enhance the models as they learn about it, and they're really pleased with the results, so they intend to continue using ClearScape there. In Vodafone, we have a spirit which we call experiment and learn fast, so our intention is to continue experimenting with all of these new features and capabilities, and we're looking forward to the new possibilities this will open for us. I think that's a whistle-stop tour of the presentation I wanted to make, and perhaps we can move into the interactive part of the session.
I'll start with the questions, and I suppose one of the things is from a background perspective. Can you give us a feel for how important that data warehouse is for Vodafone and what it delivers for the business?
Yeah, so I think even I didn't appreciate how entrenched it was before we started to do this migration. Our finance teams use it for financial reporting. Our regulatory teams use it for reporting to shareholders and stock market. Our fraud teams use it to detect fraud. Our commissions teams use data from Teradata to work out commissions to our sales staff. I think there isn't the sales teams for the CVM teams use data there to market the right products to the right people. I think there isn't one part of Vodafone U.K. that doesn't take data from Teradata in one shape or form. The fact that our CIO, CFO, and CEO were totally engaged in this transformation tells you how important this is for Vodafone.
Okay. All right. One of the areas, I suppose, that I mean, we've all been involved in major and significant projects. One of the big things is surprises and the threat of surprises. What kind of steps did you take to mitigate those risks?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And the scariest thing about doing a transformation when you have sort of technology that you're very familiar with and you're going to move into cloud, you're moving actually data from one country to another, having a new IP network. Some of our ETL scripts were written 10, 15 years ago. Some of our downstream systems are legacy. What could possibly go wrong, right? So it needed the right structure of a program, to be fair, okay? We needed to have some strong leaders who would manage this program right through. We split our teams into squads that would focus on particular elements of this transformation. So for example, we set up a squad that would deal with the ETL and source system side, another squad that dealt with the Teradata and data transfer itself, another squad that dealt with users and downstream systems, and another squad that dealt with the IP network, so that these specialists could focus on those particular parts. We made sure that we had really good communication between the teams, daily stand-ups, weekly get-togethers, including sort of bringing Teradata to our meetings, etc. We made sure that we had the right level of technical support from Teradata. So we did hit a few glitches while we were doing designs, and the professional services we got from Teradata were always there to help us fix these issues. And the most important thing, I think, apart from all of the technical stuff we did, including the dress rehearsals to try to make sure that we didn't have any surprises, was to communicate with all the users and stakeholders and make them feel that they are part of this transformation and that they are helping us make this transformation happen. And I think those are the sort of few things we did.
Very good. I know you said you'd simplified the architecture diagram fairly significantly, but you also mentioned that Teradata was installed on lots of servers and you had lots of source systems coming in. Did you find anything unexpected in how and why the data was being used?
Sorry, this will be a really boring answer, I'm afraid, because actually no, we thought we might have, but because it is astonishing the number of on-prem servers we had, but actually no, I felt quite good during this migration as well, because it means that all the controls that we have, that we put in place to protect our customer data, is effective, and we do know, what all the servers are being used, who's accessing it for what purpose, etc. So that part went really well.
Yeah, so it's really positive that you didn't have that kind of tech debt of unknown sources coming in and all the rest of that. That's really positive. Okay, very good. And the migration itself, I know you mentioned that it all went very well and it went very quickly, but can you tell us a little more about the actual migration itself?
Okay, yeah. So we planned, and poor guys who work for me, I expect real planning, sort of day to day, who's going to be doing what, etc. Right? So we planned the migration weekend probably 2 months in advance, and made sure that everybody knew exactly what they were doing, made sure that we had all the right people on call, made sure we had a roster of who was doing exactly what. We had, I think it was during the migration itself, we were having reports every 30 minutes on how things were progressing, so that if something got stuck, we all jumped on a call immediately, whatever time it was, 24 hours a day, and jumped on things and fixed them as we went along. We had 2 or 3 of those and managed to make it go through okay. As I said before, the migration went a bit quicker than we were planning to, mainly because some of the tweaks that we had done after one of the dress rehearsals made the whole transfer go faster, and the IP network performed as we expected. So, yeah.
Okay.
That went really well.
Good. Yes. Good. And what were the immediate benefits that the migration opened up for you?
Yeah, I might have touched on it a bit earlier. So the very first thing that we noticed was this backup speed, which gave us an opportunity to revisit how we back up our data. When you have to take 45 minutes to back up the data, it's very different to have to schedule a 4.5-hour time slot to do that. It opened opportunities in terms of the speed of queries that people are doing nowadays. They're a little bit more confident on running bigger queries. They don't have to wait for results.
Okay.
The use of ClearScape is quite exciting, with especially with one of our teams, but we're looking at other teams who can benefit from this. And we are also comfortable knowing that we have the latest technology on the latest cloud infrastructure and don't have to worry about our on-prem and on-prem servers and our data warehousing.
I hope everyone has been thinking about questions to ask. So we have a microphone. So if somebody would like to ask questions, please put your hand up and
Be kind. So, 1710 or 20? 20, yeah. That's okay. That's okay. Maybe if you repeat the question again with the microphone. Yeah.
When you upgraded the clients, did you experience any issues, or did your network security guys implement a change the same weekend like we had?
Yeah. So we had more issues related to some of our systems that were too old to take the right level of TTU than the TTU being incompatible with those systems, and we worked through where we had some exceptions. We worked through them and did a lot of testing and didn't upgrade to the recommended TTU, but we did a lot of testing to make sure that that wasn't going to cause us any issues. We had a few issues of incompatibility with TLS versions, but that again was looked at closely by our cybersecurity teams, and we were okay with it. Yeah. At the time, it always feels more difficult than after you do all the analysis, to be honest.
Yeah, network security team implemented about 2 days after we migrated and closed port 105.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions. First one will be, which Vantage are we talking about? Is it the Vantage Cloud, which is like the primary node plus compute nodes, meaning the native cloud architecture? Or is it just the standard Teradata deployment on cloud infrastructure? That would be the first question. Second question, could you share some details about the sizing? What was the size of your on-prem solution and what's the size of your cloud solution?
Yeah. So the solution we have is Vantage Enterprise Cloud. Is that via Vantage Cloud Enterprise, and it is hosted on GCP on Teradata's instance of GCP. And what was the other question? Sorry.
With size.
Okay.
the relative size between the existing one and the new cloud.
Yeah. So the size of the cloud solution that we bought was slightly bigger than what we had on-prem, because since we installed the on-prem servers, we have had more customers, etc. But we also know that the way it has been designed and built is scalable to about 4 times what it currently is today, with configuration and obviously the commercials that go behind it. But yeah.
I have 2 questions as well. So one is your source systems and your downstream applications. Were they all on-prem, and did you face any data gravity issues?
Okay. Our source systems, some are on-prem, some are on cloud, but they are all coming into Teradata through the ETL server, which is on-prem. So in a way, that part was hidden from the Teradata Vantage migration. Downstream systems, again, we have a mix of on-prem and cloud, and we were able to handle that. Now, sorry, I didn't understand what was the other question.
The latency, was it a problem?
No, we absolutely don't have any issues with latency with regards to the Teradata platform on cloud. The performance is a lot better than it used to be on-prem. And also the IP network that we built to be able to take the capacity of the data that we're transferring across. Because the latency could come from the Teradata or from the network, right? But we're not experiencing anything of that at all. And if anything, we're experiencing better performance.
And the second question is, in terms of total cost of ownership, are you spending more now?
Yeah, I cannot answer those sorts of questions. I'm not a commercial guy. Yes.
Hi, could you share with us your experiences in terms of during this whole digital transformation? How did you overcome the resistance of your users, okay, to change and to embracing a new platform and tools, assuming that you have got a diverse team, a team of, with diverse demographics from very young to the very experienced?
That's a really good question, right? So it's not only about age, but it's also about the jobs that they do, because some people work in a call center, some work in a marketing team, some work in a legal team, some in a finance team. I think the fact that you move Teradata from on-prem into cloud actually has no impact on the customers themselves. The impact we had on our users, was that we also upgraded their user interface from SQL Assistant to Teradata Studio. And what we did was we rolled out Teradata Studio onto everybody's laptop. And we gave them warning, we're going to do this, sent them instructions, rolled out Teradata Studio, and then set up what we call war rooms, virtual war rooms, where anyone can dial in at any time, 24 hours around the clock for maybe 3 or 4 days. And they can ask specific questions or say, look, I'm stuck. They share the screen, and we help them out. Typically, the users adapted to Teradata Studio very, very quickly. We had there were minor gremlins where someone who is very non-technical wouldn't know how to set something up. We did this through a mixture of our own teams giving support, and the Teradata Professional Services as well came along and helped us as well. I think within 2 days of us, we rolled out Teradata Studio before we did the big migration so that we weren't doing too many things all at the same time. And I think there was a little bit of a, oh my God, how do we use this type of situation? But I think within 2 days, that was it. There were no issues at all. Yeah.
Hi, thanks for sharing your insights on the migration.
Sorry, I can't see.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Sorry.
I was trying to find you.
Yeah. I suppose a couple of things. How significant or extensive were changes to roles and responsibilities in your organization, and sort of how did you manage that? And the other thing I'm interested in, did you decommission the on-premise or did you have a strategy for that?
Yes, we decommissioned the on-prem servers. Again, because that saves us housing costs, electricity costs, power costs. Yeah, and it was part of the overall business case as decommissioning the on-prem servers. From an organizational perspective, we didn't have to do any big changes to the org at all. As Vodafone U.K, we're part of the group organization, and maybe there are teams who used to manage the on-prem servers who aren't managing them for Vodafone U.K anymore, because now we have a software as a service. But in general, as a local market in the UK, we didn't have to make any changes to the organization.
How has your disaster recovery plan changed as a result of this migration? And have you actually undertaken a full DR test?
That's interesting. when you host a service on cloud, the cloud provider themselves provide a degree of disaster recovery, right? And the way the servers are set up within their data center, we haven't had to do anything special in terms of disaster recovery ourselves. So it's not like we have, advantage on GCP and advantage on AWS that we can drop. We use the Google capabilities for disaster recovery as Google provide them to us.
And what drove the decision for Google rather than AWS or Azure? And was there any challenges that were specific to Google, not Teradata?
Okay, so I'm trying to think what our media relations team will let me say. So Vodafone as an organization has commercial agreements with all of the cloud providers. Our preference for data and analytics workload is to use Google. There are probably many reasons for it, but I'm not free to discuss them here. Were there any specific technical challenges with relation to Google? No. That bit went quite smoothly.
Thank you.
Hi there. Can you expand a little on the better end user performance and specifically, do you understand the drivers of it? Is it a better architecture? Have you had the opportunity to optimize your data models behind the scenes? What are the key drivers?
The performance improvements we have seen was with a like-for-like data model, and therefore it is about the performance of Vantage itself, and probably the fact that it's on cloud, not on prem servers. There will be obviously more opportunity to make improvements when we change our data models or evolve them. But you're right, the performance we saw was nothing to do with changing our data models. Okay.
Yeah, I will add just as a note, going to the question earlier into that question, they moved to Vantage Cloud Enterprise, the same data structure you were using in your on-prem environment.
Correct, yeah.
Just in Q3 of this year, Teradata released Vantage Cloud Lake, our latest product on the Google platform. That happened just this year.
How do you manage your software upgrades now? So I guess Teradata with software as a service, do the RDBMS upgrades themselves.
Correct.
What does that leave you having to manage?
Because we have just done the migration, we probably don't need to do a software upgrade yet. But I'm assuming I will ask David here, is that we will probably have to increase our TTUs in the future. Actually, I will defer to my Teradata technical lead.
Typically, the systems are patched on a quarterly basis, so I think there's an upgrade coming in one of the planned maintenance slots. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's probably in October.
Yeah, speak up a bit more.
Cool. There's typically quarterly planned maintenance windows when the patching's undertaken. Obviously, with major upgrades, then consideration for TTU compatibility will need to be considered.
But it is done by Teradata themselves, yeah. And I don't need to do anything in terms of software upgrades. That is a bit of a bonus that comes with software as a service.
It's something that's coordinated with the group team that
yeah.
support the platform on your behalf.
What were the biggest security challenges you had, either kind of in the design of the migration or for your ongoing system design?
So I'm not going to go into too many details here, okay? If that's okay, because there's an element of privacy within our company. It is about the mind shift of thinking we have our customer data, which is very precious to Vodafone, and it's in our data center, in our we have the keys. We own the platforms, and it's totally in our control. 2, we are now putting the data on a software as a service. Okay, so there needs to be a lot of thought through by our privacy teams, our corporate security teams, and cybersecurity teams to make sure that our customer data is safe as it was before, used for the right purposes, etc. But it was one of the challenges we had because it's a bit of a mind shift. But we overcame it, and my understanding from speaking to other companies who have also moved from on-prem to cloud, they had similar challenges and they overcame them as well. No, I mean external, like. Yes. So what we do is whenever we run these types of any type of programs related to data, we always have privacy engaged and our cybersecurity and our corporate security teams, and they form part of the squads and they work with us that way. Just I thought of something else. The lady at the back asked me a question about how did we manage various different people sort of adopting to the new tools. And this was what I meant, that we tried to make the migration not an IT migration being forced on people, but we spoke to them all along the journey for the 9 months of the duration and made them part of it as well, and always asked them for feedback and that sort of thing. So when we did something new, that it wasn't a surprise or out of the blue. They knew something was coming, they knew why, they knew the whole reason behind it, etc. So it's a lot of communication.
Another question over there.
Thank you. I'm just really trying to understand the drivers why this had to be cloud and not on-prem again, because we just went through the exactly the same process, but we ended up on-prem again because there was some internal debate about could you go to cloud and is it mature and what about GDPR and all of this. So we could not make that step yet. So of course there's an architectural upgrade here from older version of Teradata to a new one, so you will get all of the performance gains and you will get the newest technology and so on, and you get that from cloud because you get to the newest version. But if you had done it on-prem, you would get the same thing there because it is the same version of the database on the newest technology. So I just want to really understand why you thought it would be cloud, or why the organization wanted cloud, because we've had a lot of debate internally about it, and I really want to have that input on do you have some kind of expectation as an organization that it will be cheaper, or that you will be able to have less staff, or what are kind of the organizational expectations of we have to do it in cloud and not on-prem for exactly the same product, basically?
I think this is one of those questions which doesn't only have one answer and like one silver bullet. There are many different reasons why you would migrate a service from on-prem on a data center into cloud. They range from everything from property costs of owning the data center that we had in Vodafone, to the power that we are using, to wanting to use clean energy, which Google always use renewable energy, to performance, to scalability, to if we want to suddenly scale up, we can. If we need to shrink, we can. There is a general trend in Vodafone for us to move all of our platforms into cloud, and we went on to. We didn't have to persuade our company that cloud is where we want to go, because it's a general strategy in Vodafone.
Okay. So
however, it's helping us in all of the aspects that we have mentioned.
Okay, so you don't have any kind of short-term gains that were kind of the selling points. It was more of a strategy that we should move to cloud in general.
Yeah, I actually have a question. Is your on-prem software as a service as well? No, it isn't, is it? So one of the advantages is that we have software as a service, so we don't have to worry about software upgrades, hardware upgrades, scalability anymore. It's Teradata's responsibility now. We pay them a fee and they provide us with a service.
Thank you. One other question, just on your broader ecosystem, did you migrate your data integration pipeline, reporting pipeline, did they all go to cloud as well?
Not all in the same migration that I was describing today. So when you have so many systems, the best thing, in my opinion, is to try and break the migration into chunks. And what we're doing is we're moving chunks into cloud. So we move the Teradata database into cloud. And in parallel, we also have some of the downstream systems also being moved into cloud. But we didn't make them a dependency on each other.
Thanks. So you've accepted then obviously the egress cost, like the cost to moving data up and down, is part of a medium term, solution. But broadly speaking, is your intention then to bring the rest of your technology stack that supports the ecosystem with it?
We did a few calculations on egress costs as part of our business case as well. It's a consideration, but it's not. It wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be, basically.
All right, we're at time, Matt.
Yep.
Oh.
Just to say thank you very much for all your questions.
Thank you for all the questions.
Okay. Thank you.